This is Mike Bolo of Lexicon Valley.
And I'm Bob Garfield. Are you one of those people who sometimes uses words?
Do you communicate or acquire information with, language?
Hey, us too. So join us on Lexicon Valley to chew over the history, culture, and many mysteries of English, plus some wisecracks.
Find us on one of those apps where people listen to podcasts.
Welcome back to the CJ Moneyway Show, where we honor stories that shape us, challenge us, and push us forward, brick by brick.
Today we're diving into one of the most powerful and timely stories we've ever featured. Our guest, Dr. Robert J. Wolf, is a neuroradiologist and the award-winning author of Not a Real Enemy, a gripping biography of his father's heroic survival through the Holocaust in communist Hungary. This story is riveting, relevant, and necessary, especially in a world where anti-Semitism, division, and historical amnesia are rising again.
Dr. Wolf, welcome to the show.
Dr. Wolf, man, welcome to the show, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for inviting me, CJ. I'm much appreciated, and I'm honored that you have me on. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, man. So, Doc, man, let me ask you, man. Roots of resilience. Your father escaped in the Holocaust, twice, and the communists twice. 4 escapes. When did you first realize just how extraordinary his story was?
That's a great question, but before I get to that, I want to say historical amnesia. I've got to use that. I love that expression. That was really good. You had a nice intro, too. So my dad, my mom and dad wrote the autobiography, Not a Real Enemy, The True Well, they didn't have a title then. They documented his history from when he was a child. Actually, it's a history book from when he was a child back to even before the end of World War I to the end of the Hungarian Revolution in 1956. So I turned their autobiography into a biography. When he did his manuscript, paper and pencil to typewriter to computer to disc, but at the time, 30 years ago, maybe I read the story and I didn't really think much of it, but I did remember his first escape. That kind of stuck with me. And then when we'd have family fights, my dad would remind me how spoiled Americans are. And he would say how tough they had it in forced labor camp. And I didn't really appreciate it that because, I'm a medical student and I'm a resident. I'm trying to raise a family and make a living. So my dad passes away in 1997, unfortunately, my mom in 2016. But they were both educators, history and Holocaust, and very well-rounded people, though. They had a lot of different interests. And I don't mean to get off the subject, but I'm trying to culminate in a good answer to your question. Yeah, so when my mom died, took care of her affairs, took a year off to retire, then went back to work part-time as a radiologist. And that actually brought me to the disc where I reread my dad's story. And I said, oh, my God, these stories are so unbelievable. These miracles and with anti-Semitism in the background, through the whole book, I said, I cannot leave this on a disc. I can't leave this on a computer. So I decided to redo it as a biography. It's not word perfect, but as much as a match with the fidelity is what my dad talked about. Of course, we confirm the history and we confirm the culture and the time frame. And I had a great co-author who helped me with it. But yeah, my dad had 4 escapes. His first one was in forced labor camp. They thought they were on a death march in the middle of the mountains, middle of nowhere. He and his friend Frank, they were getting beaten and urinated on and starved and illness. And my dad had an infected foot at the time. And just one night, they thought the war was almost over, but they didn't get a lot of information because they're out in the middle of nowhere. Even before that, Jews were not allowed to have radios or TVs or anything like that. They weren't allowed to get any kind of news. And it's another story. It's part of the book or long before. But yeah, they decided to escape. And so they did. They timed it out. They had about a 3-day window. They went right at dusk, and boom, they took off. And what's Berman, what's from ESPN, rumbling, bumbling, stumbling in the middle of the cold, wet thicket in a forest and on the mountains that they don't even know in the Carpathian Mountains. So they managed to get out, and then they meandered their way down to Buddhist, and that's a great story. It's just so exciting. And if it were ever a movie, I think that's how the movie would start: is my dad in his forced labor camp, and then his first escape, because it's not just one; it's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Second one, another great story. Really, a pack of cigarettes, believe it or not, helped save their lives, and just on the spot thinking, on the spot timing, lucky timing. Split second timing. They got corralled into what they call the dog pound for forced laborers that were arrested or caught after they escaped. And surely you thought you were going to die, get tortured. thrown in jail or thrown back to another forced labor camp, maybe even worse, like Ukraine or Russia or wherever, or a death camp, of course. So they took off and they got out. It was in Budapest and it was right in front of Nazi headquarters. So amazing story there. Third time, my dad was a medical student. Now, this is later on in communist Hungary, and he had it with the communists. He was a med student, but he wanted to be in a free country. So he decided one night on the weekend to go to the Austrian border, and he BS'd his way with an armed Russian soldier. He's arguing with an armed Russian soldier about how he's supposed to fix radiology equipment in a nearby hospital in Austria. And the guy challenges him, and my dad challenges him back, says, go ahead, call the administrator, see how happy they'll be that you're interrupting them. And the guy lets him go through. But my dad, for fear of reprisal and for fear of getting arrested and not being able to finish his medical career, turned back around, went back to his apartment in Budapest, and he was on call the next day. Nobody even knew that he was gone. And then finally, I had a fourth escape with my mom in 1956 at the end of the Hungarian Revolution. Very harrowing story, cold, muddy, wet, scary, Russian lights and planes all over the place. Anti-Semitic people actually helping them. These renegades and crusaders are actually helping them escape, not realizing they're Jewish and cussing out the Jews all the way to the end, And then even in Austria, when they finally got there, they had a little bit of booze to bribe the border guards. And even when these guys got drunk, they were complaining about the Jewish people and saying how Hitler wasn't that bad and yada, yada, yada. And believe me, my mom and dad wanted to argue with them about all of it. But that would have been stupid and a bad time to do that. So remarkable stories. A priest helped them with their final escape. They had a baby. They had to abort their first night because the baby was cranky and crying, and they had to be dead quiet. Even my dad's coat was squeaking, and the guy helping him was complaining that you're making too much noise. So really remarkable stories. Another thing, so 20 miracles in this book, Not a Real Enemy, and including the 4 escapes. Another miracle was an escape he missed. Another great cloak and dagger story. This guy was going to help my dad escape. He happened to go to the wrong train station in Budapest, and he thought he was the unluckiest guy in the world. And all the people that made the right train got arrested by the Soviets, including his medical school roommate. So that set him back quite a while my dad he dodged a bullet there. So the way my dad got into medical school, the way he found out about his parents, what happened to them at Auschwitz, which was not a happy ending. And of course, it was sad. It's a happy and sad book. I mean, there's no sugarcoating. There's no pussyfooting around. I mean, we're telling it like it is. Yeah. My dad said that that's what happened, and that's what happened. And so, his parents perished at Auschwitz. Luckily, they weren't there too long. Eyewitness from his hometown who told him what happened. And, you can just feel that empty, when you hear bad news and you just get covered by what I call a tinnitus, that ringing in your ear where the whole, like a subway screeching or something like that, where you can't even hear what the person's saying anymore. But that's how my dad described that. And we tried to match that in the book, too. So many, many miracles. I mean, it's just remarkable. And, he was my hero in 9th grade, and he was the reason I wanted to go to medical school and become a radiologist, ironically, with the dad with the x-ray equipment. But that was before I knew everything he had gone through in Hungary. And, the Hungarians had it tough. And, they wrote the stories as though they knew I was going to do this. Because if you knew me 7 years ago, you say, this guy would never write about the Holocaust. I'm not a writer. I'm a, math, science, anatomy guy. So in the end, they knew it. And don't you hate it when your parents are right? And the other part is they knew that anti-Semitism would rear its ugly head again somehow. And sure enough, here it is. So this whatever happened to my mom and dad 60, 80, 100 years ago, it's still going on now. And the sad thing is how people find different ways to torture each other, persecute, maim, kill, starve. I mean, it's just, some remains the same. And so this book couldn't be any more relevant than it is now than it was 50 years ago, for sure.
Yeah, this is a time for it, man. We're going to push this up the ladders, man, because like you say, this is a conversation worth having. And I'll go back to what you said. You said if your dad said it, it happened, because this type of stuff you cannot make up. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just can't make this stuff up.
Yeah. Well, even if he made it up, I mean, he'd have been a great fiction writer,
Yeah.
But, we can write a part 2 because we only get them to Vienna, which is a long enough story, but it was pretty harrowing from Vienna all the way to Detroit, where he finally, punchline, delivered 10,000 babies in the Detroit area, which is redemption. It doesn't bring back the 50 or 60 million people that died in World War II. Never mind, it's just, 6 million Jews. Like one person is too much. But, 6 million Jews, LGBTQ, and victims of the war, of course, the soldiers, the civilians, people that helped the Jews with hiding, all kinds of stuff. And that doesn't include how many people were killed or tortured or imprisoned under communist Hungary too, including. So the Jews weren't treated that much better by the communists than by the Nazis, short of corralling them in town squares and hauling them off in trains to have them killed. But forced labor camps still exist too. So very, very sad stories. And, my mom and dad, how they could stay, no sign of PTSD. My dad loved going to work, loved what he did. The people enjoyed being around him. He had that electricity, he had that dynamism that people just loved. You would never know what he went through. And some people couldn't talk about it, as you know, PTSD. Same with Vietnam vets and Korea, I imagine, too. Two wars that we don't even talk about anymore, let alone the Holocaust, which people deny. So people denying 9/11 now, too, which is ridiculous.
It's crazy.
American targets. Those are Christians, Muslims, Asians. Then we had the Islamophobia, which I'm not a fan of. I mean, if you're going to be peaceful to me, you let me run my family, my own religion, my work, let me go to the grocery store, travel, then I'll do the same to you. Respect our neighbors. But if you're going to threaten to kill me or you or anybody because of race, religion, you don't have that right. I think only God has that right. And a good surgeon, I joke about that.
But yeah, man, you touching some pain points, man. This is truth. You know what I'm saying? And speak it how it is, man. Don't hold back on it. Don't hold back on us, Doc, man. Speak it how it is, man.
I got a lot more for you. So my high school, I was, you were raised in the Detroit area. You know Detroit like me, I think that's fantastic. But I was raised in a town called Mount Clemens, about 20 miles out of Detroit. It was a little subset of Detroit, a lot of auto workers still, but a lot of professionals. I had a good school, a good high school, but about 40% African American. But I was one of 3 Jewish people in the whole high school. So there were only 100 Jewish families in Macomb County, and now it's dwindled down to very, very few left. In fact, half the congregation in the current synagogue is Christian, which is kind of funny. Maybe they got tired of Christianity for whatever reason. I don't ask. It's just nice to have new people to meet. We trash talk. There was bullying. But we left it all on the field. There was no swastika signs or people burning crosses or anything like that. It was we left it on the football field, the basketball field. Mm-hmm. We insulted each other. It was amazing but we left it behind. It wasn't. And nowadays, protests and people shoving and pushing and screaming into cameras and not letting kids and professors in out of the classroom. You don't have the right to do that. As Harvard, Columbia, Yale, all those places. And anybody that's smart would give their left, to get in these schools. And these kids are abusing the privilege. It's not right. And if I'm a parent of one of these victims, these poor Jewish kids that are getting picked on, talk about a lawsuit. I mean, and class action lawsuit, and have bad press being a writer. I write every newspaper in the country, and call the dean and the governor, and we need a little sensibility here. It's getting a little out of control now,
Mm-hmm. Hey, so let me ask you, Ryan, man, talking about your book, man. The book has won multiple major awards: India Excellence, Living Now, Reader's Favorite. What has the reception meant to you personally?
A great question. I love to. Can I show a picture of the book real quick?
Sure can.
Hopefully it's not too blurry with the light, but so yeah, Not Real End, like you said, 4 awards.
I like that.
So it's the whole title of the book is Not a Real Enemy: The True Story of a Hungarian Jewish Man's Fight for Freedom. The awards getting 4 awards is a miracle in itself, but it does show that people think that the book is well written. Obviously, the people in the know, and they understand the importance of the material and the messages in the book. So there's that. Secondly, I'm not big into self-congratulations or patting myself on the back. I was pleased to win these awards, but it doesn't mean a damn thing if it doesn't help me fight against anti-Semitism. It really doesn't. And thirdly, I have such a great team that I've worked with over the years. My co-author, Janice, our publisher, Amsterdam publisher, my friend Mark, who's been on this journey with me since the beginning, 6-7 years ago, with the website and social media, and the guy that did the book cover, amazing book cover. The guy was from Croatia. Never met him. We did it all online, and he was really inexpensive and did a great job. So that whole team really made the difference. Even the testimonials from professors that we got, it really helps. So I can't just say, well, it was just me, and that's another lesson I want to give to the kids, whether you're a med student or if you're in business or law, be a team player and don't be afraid to get help. Don't be afraid to get help if you need it, because nobody knows everything. And whether it's legal or writing or graphics or whatever, posting, get help and it'll make you better.
Yeah,
that's where I'm at with that. But it's it's an amazing thing when you write a book and you get that kind of recognition. It's indescribable, and I'm pleased. So
Hey, man, you may not want to pat yourself on the back, Doc. I know what you're talking about, man. So I pat you on the back for that, man. That is a big accomplishment, you know what I'm saying? To get some stuff like that, especially honoring your parents, your father's journey, man, you know, and just bringing that thing to life, a story that, you know, that they couldn't tell themselves. But you said something earlier that made me think about something. You said when you were in the 9th grade, you loved your father. You looked up to your father. That's why you wanted to do what you wanted to do, not knowing the backdrop of his story. So let me ask you this, man. And you talked about this earlier. You say your father, he endured some imaginable adversities. What do you believe, knowing, you know, saying your father, as we go back to this 9th grade, Robert, what do you believe kept your father alive? Luck, grit, faith, or was it something else?
Great question. I mean, that's an hour answer, but I'd say all of the above. Brains and balls, if you forgive me. I mean, very smart, very wise.
To the window, to the wall.
Very, very courageous. So faith, definitely. Split-second timing, a little bit of planning. Sometimes just a very short period of time to plan. I like to think of some luck is a part of it. Whether he's not or he's Jewish, you know, he's a Jewish guy with 20 lives. You know, the luck of the Jewish, or I would prefer to say the hand of God. I mean, you have to. If you don't believe in God or the help of God by the time you've done reading this book, then there's something seriously wrong with you, because I can't imagine him going through everything he went through and surviving. And we talk about that in the book. We talk about it when I do book presentations, determination, hope, integrity, fear, loneliness, of course, hate, persecution, genocide, and ultimately love. And because they did get help from people from time to time too. It wasn't. But now, you know, not to change the subject, but there's only 15 million Jews, 15 plus. Last I heard, about 15.2 million Jews on this planet. It was estimated that if it weren't for World War II and the Holocaust, there'd be about 41 million, which is still small in comparison to like 1.5 billion Christians, 1.5 billion Muslim, maybe more, 1.5 billion Hindu, and 1.5 billion Buddhists and Asians. So that's probably about 80% or more of the planet's population. So if other groups wanted to eradicate the Jewish people, I don't think it would be too hard. You know, it's a horrible thought. But guys like you've got my Christian brothers, and I've got a lot of friends that are Muslim and Christian, Asian, from all walks of life, as my parents did. Thank you for letting us stay. Thank you for, and I refer to God as, and not that we're the chosen people, because I'm not crazy about that expression. I think that pisses people off. I don't think anybody can say whether they're right or wrong about religion, because we don't know. I mean, we're not going to know until we know. So we believe, and I respect that. So I respect and another sad thing that you made me think of is that the apathy and indifference in what we're doing. You know, I get it if you don't want to read books about the Holocaust or read books at all, because there's so many forms of entertainment now you've got Netflix and Hulu and golf and fitness and movies and video games, et cetera, and other great books. But what really disappoints me is the apathy and indifference about people's viewpoint about anti-Semitism, including in the Jewish population. That to me is an earlier podcast that the guy said, the opposite of love is not hate. The opposite of love is fear. And I said, well, I guess, but I think the opposite of love is apathy and indifference. And we're seeing some of that now. Not guys like you, not guys like that we get to do the book presentations to, and other authors like me and people that are on social media talking about anti-Semitism. But there's enough I guess that's my job, is to wrap my arms around people that are uninterested or indifferent, and just say, wake up, so that we don't have happen again what happened back during the Holocaust and beyond. Hungary had it really tough for many, many years, most of the 20th century, so.
Mm-hmm. Let me tell you something, Doc. I interviewed this guy from New York, Mitch, my man Mitch. And Mitch on a mission. He say, CJ, I want to get 5 million people that just, had a love for people and want to unite people and just, make this world a better place. I thought 5 million was quite lofty, but, that's his dream. That's what, that's what he envisioned. I don't know what God showed him. And so I told him to put me on the list. And I told him I, try to get as many people as I can to join into this movement that he's trying to do. So I got to include myself. Can I add you in there, Dr.
Count me in. Million Man March. Remember the Million Man March?
Yeah.
I think it was run by a Muslim. I forget who exactly.
Yeah, Farrakhan.
That's right. But fine. I love it. I'm in, as long as you're not preaching anti-Semitism as long as
no. We try to bring peace, man. You know what I'm saying? We try to bring peace and love, man. You know, and show that we can do this, no matter what side of the fence you on, man. No matter your race or anything else, man. God's love is God's love. He don't look at color. You know what I'm saying? He looks at the heart.
I agree. My goal is to sell 10 million books. I think if I did that, that would really make a difference. You know, that's only 1% of the LinkedIn population, or 1%, 0.5% of the Meta population. So it's just hard to penetrate. But the word penetrance, like we say in genetics, there's genetic disorders with a certain amount of penetrance. But if I got a 1% penetrance by reaching out to 1 billion or 2 billion people, that would sell 10 million books. I think that could really make a difference in getting some notoriety and fighting the hate. I like what you're doing, and count me in. I'm in that group, and I'm sure I can get dozens of other guys and girls to join in too, because one great thing about this journey, and believe me, I've been heckled a lot. I've been insulted. I've been called a clown and self-serving and self-promoting and all this, even by Holocaust groups, if you can believe it. I mean, these guys aren't even looking at what I'm doing. They're just skimming by my name and saying, block this guy off, whatever. But it's important to meet important people like you, people that care, that give a bleep, and it's exactly what this is. So
I appreciate you, Dr. Rod, man. And so let me ask you, man, you said something earlier about, your parents, and they say, they was going through what they was going through, and they say that it is going to reap its head again. So growing up hearing that, did you have the mindset, you know what I'm saying? Like, maybe that was the past and it's not going to come back. And, say now that you said it is, because you said that the parallels between the 1940s Europe and today are chilling. What similarities do you see that concern you the most?
Well, these protests, the call for hate. Back in Hungary in the 30s, anti-Semitism was on the rise. The Arrow Cross was like the worst. The Hungarian Jews always feared for their safety. Even after World War I, Admiral Horthy was in charge for a while. He was a World War I hero. There was the White Terror. There's the Red Terror. People it was like the Russian the Russian Gestapo knocking on doors, trying to change people's viewpoint. So later on in the 30s, the Arrow Cross, they hated Jews as much as any. In fact, responsible for the 21,000 people killed at the Danube toward the end of the war. A lot of people know about that history. 21,000 people in 2 months is a lot of people, nude, and hence the shoes along the banks of the Danube. So, yeah, a lot of similarities. But they use newspapers to spread the propaganda. And now it's social media, so it's even scarier because you can reach a lot of people in a hurry. The other thing is people don't understand history. They don't follow history. They don't read about it. I don't think it's taught properly in the schools. This is where I want to teach our story in the classroom. I mean, that's the biggest thing, because hate is learned, it's taught. It's learned at home and maybe sometimes in the classroom, and I'm trying to prevent that too. So similarities that way. I guess people would think differently if they saw Hamas trucks and armored cars and tanks rolling through the streets of Miami and Detroit and New York. Then maybe people would think twice, with those ugly Palestinian flags. I hate the colors in that, the red for blood, the black for, the darkness. I don't even know why there's white. I guess that's for purity. I'm not a flag expert, but anyway, can you imagine that, those flags and whatever symbols and people screaming with bullhorns through the streets about hatred and get people to perish? And, people that support Hitler that are African-American or LGBTQ and that ideal that the Holocaust was a good thing, they don't get it. You guys were next. This was a race that thought they were superior. They were the Aryan race. Muslims too, they were, and this is true for white supremacists, even the U.S., and skinheads. I mean, you guys are on the list too. So they may want to eliminate Jews first, or back, with the KKK, the African Americans, who the Jews supported, by the way, in the 60s. It's well documented that Jewish leaders supported MLK and Medgar Evers and Malcolm X. They marched with them. So when you say Million Man March, or you got a 5 million person group and you want to spread the word of peace, then I'm in on that. So yeah, very similar. The mode is different, just like the mode of torture and persecution, social media. But that's part of what I'm trying to do, is engulf the 99+% of people that are relatively normal, that want to raise a family, take whatever vacation they can, and enjoy whatever little life, and get them to surround the ones that are the bad apples and educate them.
This is Mike Bolo of Lexicon Valley.
And I'm Bob Garfield. Are you one of those people who sometimes uses words?
Do you communicate or acquire information with, language?
Hey, us too. So join us on Lexicon Valley to chew over the history, culture, and many mysteries of English, plus some wisecracks.
Find us on one of those apps where people listen to podcasts.
The sun's shining, birds are singing, and all feels right in the world.
Until the season changes and suddenly you lose your motivation to get out of bed. In fact, 1 in 5 people experience some form of depression, no matter the season or time of year.
At the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, our vision is to build a mentally healthy nation for all, because we want you to live your best life and be your best you all year round.
Please visit mentallyhealthynation.org to learn more.
I like that, man.
Check out the movement. Family, real quick. Lean in. If you're listening to this right now, then you already know the Moneyway ain't just a podcast. It's a movement. So make sure you tap into everything we building. It's a Moneyway moving music. New tracks dropping every week. It's the CJ Moneyway Show. Global ranked, purpose-driven voices. Moneyway mindset. Daily inspiration. Real talk, no fluff. You can find it all right now on Instagram, YouTube, and everywhere you stream. Just search out your Moneyway. That's where purpose lives. That's where the next level starts. And that's where we leveling up. Together. Now let's get back to the show.
Hey, so let me ask you, Doc, man. Let me ask you this. You were talking about the schools, how you wanted, saying things that you want to teach in the schools and things of that nature. Now, how should schools, especially places like Harvard, which you mentioned earlier, Stanford and others, be teaching this history differently?
Well, I think, I don't know if it should be required, but I think a section on Holocaust studies should be included, I think, in a historical curriculum. I mean, your Shiva schools, the Jewish schools, certain private schools, there are Holocaust studies in some universities. I think Emory in Atlanta, Clark University in Worcester. I'm sure many others that I don't even know about, but I think that would help. I mean, history needs to be taught and not denied. Like, you can't just say the Old Testament is right, but the New Testament is wrong. The reason the Jews didn't accept the New Testament is because the religion was established and it was old school. But I can't say, the New Testament is right and the Old Testament is wrong, or this part of history is right and this part of history is documented, It's like denying hieroglyphics from the Egyptians or Chinese writings. I mean, you can't just say this is true and this isn't. Now, you don't have to teach about that, but I would appreciate it especially in these campuses with protests, that if there was, like in med school, we had so many subjects that we were taught, so many topics. Well, why not spend an hour or two having a guest appearance, or spending a day having 5 or 6 or 8 authors show up and do talks like ours, and with PowerPoints and touching moving pictures that make a point, that kind of thing, so that people can realize that what they're doing, it's wrong and it's regressive and it's dangerous. And it doesn't have to be college. I mean, college is ideal. It could be summer reading for high schools or colleges. We could do talks for 6th, 7th, 8th graders. I think that's probably about the lowest age I would go to start, because I don't know if we get through to a 3rd grader or 2nd grader, they wouldn't really understand. But I don't think 6th grade, 5th grade is too young to start teaching about hate and educating them about racism and anti-Semitism. And not just the Holocaust, the Civil War, the 60s, the uprising, the riots, and nobody even talks about the Civil War anymore either. So slavery is not, and slavery in the Old Testament and in Exodus, and under the Romans, people do not deserve to have dominion over other people. It's just not. And then we have a problem now with human trafficking. So there's another parallel. Human trafficking is a big issue now. You've got all these airports with the signs, be careful of human trafficking, yada, yada. And it's another, that's more control, one person controlling another, or many people controlling a person or a group. And it's inappropriate. It's not palatable, it doesn't sit well.
And Doc, man, you said something earlier, and I was thinking, just the smoke and mirrors. You say they coming out we just look at how things going right now. They come after this certain group of people. Okay, once you get done with this group of people, who you coming after next? You know what I'm saying? Now we're seeing all the stuff that goes on. It's just smoke and mirrors. They tell you one thing, but you got to look between lines for yourself, and that's a deeper conversation, because this stuff is real. If people really ain't paying attention, it is real. I was just looking at something yesterday. I was reading something yesterday, Doc. We already knew they was going to do it. They took away for the museums or what, national parks or whatever, Martin Luther King Day and Juneteenth. And so, as you were saying earlier, it made me think about it. They're wiping away our history. They don't want you to know about history, not for us because we've lived long enough to know history, but those that's coming behind us, our generations that's coming behind us, so they will have nothing to go by that's documented. You know what I'm saying? That it was a Holocaust or that, you know, it was slavery and things of that nature. They just try to wipe all that out, man. But that's another conversation for another day. We're going to have to get deep on that, Doc.
The term useful idiots has come up, and I like that term because, you know, people are easily brainwashed, and I'm not big into that sheep mentality either, you know.
Yeah.
Learn to think for themselves. Gotcha. And, you know, instead of protesting and hating people, do something different. You know, if you don't like your job, you don't like your work, you know, cut back, go part-time, change vectors like I did from radiology to being an author, you know, pivot, spend more time with your family, buy a cup of coffee for your neighbor, go to a movie, write a book, write a play, travel, do something different, you know, volunteer somewhere, give back to the community. Don't, you know, make this world better. It's not that hard. It's as easy to love and it's as easy to share and do the right thing as it is to not understand when you talk about flesh and blood of another person, that you're talking about something very serious. And the irony is that being a radiologist, you know, we're dedicated to the preservation of the beauty of the cell and the anatomy and how the body is put together, and then all the pathology that can happen to it. And then these people wouldn't think twice of beheading you or cutting other parts of your body off or torturing. Starvation is a big thing. I mean, that's a horrible form of torture, starvation, a major health issue. So it's just the opposite of what I was trained to do. Yeah, and it's just, again, it's not, it doesn't sit well. It's not what I was made to, that's not why I'm put on this planet for sure.
Yeah. I totally agree with everything you said. It's just like how some of these people, you know, in the military, they not comfortable with some things that's going on, so they resigning or being forced to resign because this is not what they signed up for. You know, a lot of stuff is, I didn't sign up for this. You know, I didn't sign up to be on a podcast to spread hate or, you know, saying things of that nature or whatever. And if I ever turn to do that, then I need to stop. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not in me and that's not what I'm trying to do, man. We need more people like yourself, man, and more people like my man Mitch and those who want to, you know, you may be where you at in life, man, but to have the heart and to have the fortitude, man, of wanting to help others, man, and want to see others do better and reach the pinnacle and the goals that they set for themselves in life, man, it's a beautiful thing. Hey, so, Doc, let me ask you this, man. Legacy and impact. I think this is pretty big, man. You donate 10% of your book proceeds to the U.S. Holocaust Memorial Museum. Why was that important for you?
It's a double win. I mean, I'm educating in my own little circle, but giving them the money, and that's in perpetuity. That's actually in my trust, ongoing. So even after I'm gone, and I think it's important. So they get money to help build their teaching, their education, that you can buy books, more pieces of art, photographs, make the center nicer, renovations, that kind of thing. Invite more authors. I've had the privilege of doing 4-day book signings at the Holocaust Museum in D.C., and I could do that every day. I mean, I was educating kids and adults and people from all over the world, Australia, Canada, Europe, all over the United States. And believe me, I could do that every day. We sold about, 200 books in 4 days. And that was really a remarkable experience. And then, of course, I've done other Holocaust Museum presentations, Chicago, one that was sponsored by Zeckelman in Detroit. The book is available there, too, and the Long Island Holocaust Museum. I was supposed to do Houston, but somehow through logistics that got postponed or canceled and they dropped the ball. But I'm still working on it. I don't give up. There's one in LA, there's Dallas, there's places all over that I could still, that are untapped. Not to mention Jewish community centers, synagogues, churches. I've done church. I did a great Greek Orthodox church book presentation with one of my best friends from 9th grade was the priest there. And my assistant, one of my best friends from freshman year college, Saki, who's Muslim. So we've got a Jewish guy and a Muslim guy doing a book presentation for Greek Orthodox Church. I can do a bunch of those too, So I'm open to, I don't say no to anything. I did a book presentation on a cruise ship in Italy, and I went to Vegas once for a live in-studio podcast too. So I don't say no to things as long as it's not something ridiculous, and as long as I can afford it, I'll continue to do this. I mean, Zooms are great, podcasts are great, but live presentations are also nice. You get to meet people, you sign books, and you really get to, like we're doing now, carry the conversation a little bit further.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Doc, man, you got a good life going on, man. You got a good life going on, man. Keep doing it. Hey, Doc, man, I only got one more question for you. Two more questions for you.
You get burnt out from this too. It's tough, believe me.
Hey, Doc, man, before we go any farther, man, let us know, man, where can we find Not a Real Enemy? Where can we find you at on social media, man? What's your handles, and where can we get to the good doctor, man?
That's so nice of you. I want to mention the military because you mentioned them. I think we should have more military presence like they do in Israel. At all these places I just mentioned, the schools, the museums, the synagogues, churches, it shouldn't have to be that way, but I think it would protect a lot of people because we know that church was attacked in Michigan not that long ago, synagogues from time to time, and across the world. But I can't control what's going on in Australia, but we can control what we have in the U.S. Anyway, Not a Real Enemy by Robert J. Wolf, MD. If you Google Robert J. Wolf, MD, you'll find me. That's my YouTube channel, which is really nice. It's loaded with content. My website is robertjwolfmd.com. Also, a lot of videos, a lot of history, very, very good content. And the book is available on Amazon. If you Google Not a Real Enemy, I think Amazon would be the first thing to pop up. But also Barnes & Noble system, Walmart, the Holocaust museums I've already mentioned. And you can find me on social media. I'm across the board there. X, at Robert J. Wolf, I think it is, or at Robert J. Wolf MD. I'm on TikTok, LinkedIn, which is my favorite platform, very professional. Instagram, Blue Sky, and what's the other one? Meta. I think that's it. It's like 6 of them. It's enough. It's a lot of work, but I enjoy doing it. I enjoy meeting people. I guess I met you through Podmatch, I believe. It might have been, but some through social media, and we continue to do so. But easy to find, Not a Real Enemy or Robert J. Wolf, MD. Please reach out. We do book talks, like I said, book presentations. If you like the book, write a review, help me fight anti-Semitism because I can't do it by myself. I need an army of people to help me do that. So if you do see the book and we want to reach out, like I said, I'll do a Zoom with you. I'll do a live or even a review would be nice. Any conversation about it.
After listening to this episode, go grab your copy of Not a Real Enemy. My man, Dr. Wolf, got a goal. He say he's trying to sell 10 million copies, and he's traveling all around the globe as far as Italy to get it done. Hey, so, Dr. Wolf, man, let me ask you, man. What do you hope young listeners, especially non-Jewish listeners, take away from your story?
Well, it's a great question, too, and it comes up a lot. First of all, realize how good we have it in this country. Badmouth your government. You got to vote, okay? You get to walk into a church, a mosque, a synagogue, and practice religion. Don't take that stuff for granted. We get angry when we got to wait in McDonald's line for more than 5 minutes. Sit back and smell the roses and enjoy the coffee. Take more time. More appreciate what we have in this country and realize, and also the other messages we talked about: integrity, hope, determination, be a team player. We talked about that. It goes a long way. The other thing I like to say is there's no substitute for experience. That was true in a medical profession. It's true in sports. If you play sports, if you read, if you write a book, you're going to learn as you go and appreciate that. You're hopefully better. You're improved over time, 20 years down the road, no matter what you're doing. So integrity, determination, team play, and appreciation, and a little bit of tolerance. And a Jewish friend of mine hates the word tolerance. He says acceptance. It just feels like you're just marginalized. But love is the word. And you don't have to love me. You don't have to love everybody. But just reach out. Be friends. Be a decent being.
Yeah, be cordial. There's nothing wrong with holding the door for somebody as you walking out and they walking in and things like that. But you know what, Doc, man, one thing that I had to learn, and I've been dealing with me lately, is in order to have a mindset on something, because people are like, that's my mindset. First you got to have a thought. And then when you have a thought, then you can work on that mindset. You know what I'm saying? But if I don't have a thought about a mindset, then what really is my mindset? And I had to realize that I had to get my mindset right first. And that was on me. I had to focus on me first. And once you get a mindset about yourself and come through the cracks and now I can focus on Dr. Wolf. You know what I'm saying? Now I can focus on Mitch and those that's trying to make a difference because I have more confidence in myself that, about purpose, about fulfillment and things of that nature. But if I don't have a foundation to set a mindset on, man, I'm just saying mindset that's void. You know what I'm saying? I'm just saying something that's void. I'm just talking. It's just like how we be on Facebook and somebody may have a death in the family or they say, pray for me. Then you put up the praying hands, but you don't pray though. You don't pray. You just put up the praying hands and just keep on moving. You know what I'm saying? Say what you mean and mean what you say. That's just my thing. And if you can be real with yourself, you can be real with anybody. But if you ain't real with yourself, I can't be real with Dr. Wolf because I'm lying to myself every day.
That's so well said. I got to remember to use that too. So I couldn't agree more. So my mindset changed. The motivation for doing this story was changed by just reading the story itself. And then I thought, I've got to share this. And that's where I'm at. I mean, I helped thousands of people over the years with radiology, with medicine. And I've got great stories that would probably go into my next book if I ever get to it. But I got paid, I got compensated for that too. So it was still gratifying helping all these people. But now I'm trying to help people that I don't know. And people, it's a totally different business. Writing and trying to sell an opera or a record album or a book or a movie, it's a completely different business than practicing radiology for sure. But it's enlightening.
Yeah, it's a lot of grind. To tell you what, because you said something earlier about building teams and things of that nature. Me and you were talking backstage, and you say how you do this and how you do that. We're talking about some of the things that we do. You love to be creative, but when you find your passion in life, when you find your purpose, it may be dreadful or whatever, but boy, it gives you so much joy. It gives you so much fulfillment that you're going to keep going. You're going to keep, and God going to keep giving you ideas and opening up new doors and opening up new ways to do this and new ways to do that. But at the end of the day, I can figure some things out, but I know my lane. Like you were saying earlier, I know my lane. I know what I can't do. You know what I'm saying? I know some of the things that I'm not good at, but I know I built the blueprint. And so when I get the people around me that can fulfill what I've done because they know the know-how, that's when you start going to Italy, like Dr. Wolf. That's when you start going to California for book signing. That's when you start going to the Coliseums, you know what I'm saying, and this and that, because now you built a system, man. It's a brick by brick process. But I'm telling anybody listening right now, if you got a passion, you got a purpose for something, man, go for it. Ignite that flame, man, and go for what you know. Hey, so Doc, man, let me ask you this question, man. It's going to be my last question for you. I appreciate you taking the time out your day, man, coming on the show, dropping these nuggets. What's the one message your father would want the world to hear right now?
I'll do my terrible Hungarian accent. Don't do it for the money. Do it because you love it. Don't do it for the money. But he used to have all kinds of great expressions. But I've got so many, but that was one. I don't know. There's so many. But that's the one that just comes to my mind. My mom, she was. Sorry about my bad Hungarian accent. We would not belong to the Nazi Party, and we would not belong to the Communist Party. We vote here in the United States for the best candidate, and I love that because again, she had the freedom to vote and the freedom. By the way, my mom got bat mitzvah in her 70s. And I don't think my dad was ever bar mitzvah. So, and the year before, I, loved the medical part of my dad's work. That we spent the year preparing for my bar mitzvah in 8th grade, and it was a wonderful experience. So that kind of freedom to be able to, and so I'm sure my mom was very, very pleased that she got bat mitzvah. But not to get off the subject, but those memories sit well with me, and they told me so many things that resonate through my head from time to time. And I guess this is, I was lucky. I was raised by good parents. And this is the legacy. I'm paying them back with my child, which is the book. I'm an only child of only children, so I'm not leaving anything really behind. I have step-kids and step-grandkids, and they follow me. They respect the book, and I'm sure they're going to try to help sell the book once I'm long gone. And it only benefits them because they're in the trust too. So it'll be a movie someday. A lot of people say it should be. I've already mentioned that earlier, but they'll do well if the movie does well, But the movie business is fickle now too. It's very, very tough. So as you know. Anyway, that's my dad and mom had a lot of good life lessons, and again, appreciation of what you have. And one other thing my dad used to say was, enjoy every moment. And he meant it, and especially as he got older. By the way, he went through 2 open heart surgeries too. After everything, he had he hurt a spine injury, and he had 2 open heart surgeries and survived all that too. After he's already practiced minutes. This guy is just. He's indestructible, Enjoy every moment. Nobody's bothering you. I love that. So
I like it.
Those things.
I like it. Hey, Doc, enjoy every moment, and like he say, don't do it just for the money. Do it for the love of it. And once you do it for the love of it, God will open up doors so that you can live an abundant life. Hey, Dr. Wolf, thank you for bringing this story straightforward with courage, clarity, and conviction. Not a Real Enemy isn't just a book. It's a reminder, a warning, a legacy, and a call to rise above hate with truth, empathy, and strength. To everyone listening, history doesn't repeat itself because we forget facts. It repeats itself because we forget people. Let this story live in you. Let it sharpen your perspective. Let it strengthen your purpose. You can grab the book, watch the interview, and support this mission using the links that will be in the show note. Hey, this your boy CJ Moneyway on the CJ Moneyway Show, where stories build us brick by brick. See you in the next episode. Hey, this your boy CJ Moneyway with my man Dr. Wolf from the Detroit area. Until the next time, we out of here. Peace.
Before you go, let me leave you with this. Every story shared here is a reminder that your story matters too. Keep your faith sharp, keep your focus steady, keep your vision clear. And if this episode gave you wisdom, hope, or a push forward, share it with somebody you love. Tap in with me on all platforms, Edge Moneyway, and stay locked into the movement, because God's not done writing your chapter. This is the CJ Moneyway Show. Brick by brick, and always Moneyway.
Hi, this is Alex Kantrowitz. I'm the host of Big Technology Podcast, a longtime reporter and an on-air contributor to CNBC. And if you're like me, you're trying to figure out how artificial intelligence is changing the business world and our lives. So each week on Big Technology, I bring on key actors from companies building AI tech and outsiders trying to influence it, asking where this is all going. They come from places like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Amazon, and plenty more. So if you want to be smart with your wallet, your career choices, in meetings with your colleagues, and at dinner parties, listen to Big Technology Podcast wherever you get your podcasts.
The sun's shining, birds are singing, and all feels right in the world.
Until the season changes, and suddenly you lose your motivation to get out of bed. In fact, 1 in 5 people experience some form of depression, no matter the season or time of year.
At the American Psychiatric Association Foundation, our vision is to build a mentally healthy nation for all, because we want you to live your best life and be your best you all year round.
Please visit mentallyhealthynation.org to learn more.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.
What separates dreamers from industry leaders? Your Brand Amplified uncovers the answer. I'm your host, Annika Jackson, and I have authentic, in-depth conversations with proven entrepreneurs and business experts. Some sharing the exact strategies that grew their brands, others revealing the personal stories behind their success. From digital marketing tactics to mindset shifts that change everything. They're real conversations that bridge aspiration and achievement. Find Your Brand Amplified on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts.